Hello, LinkedIn community. I often see posts that start off with the phrase, I don't know who needs to hear this. But whether it's good news or bad news, I know exactly who needs to hear this today, and that's me. I need to hear this. Recently, I've realized we don't focus enough on the mechanics of positive thinking. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity, I'm talking about the fundamental shift how we process challenges. There's a concept in cognitive brain therapy about suppressing negative thoughts. And I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not a therapist, but I want to take that thought process a little bit further, unpack it. I was catching up with a friend of mine this morning, Gisela McKenzie over at Bell Canada. We were sharing some war stories. We were sharing some of the hurdles that we've recently overcome and also some potential hurdles that are still in front of me. And during that call, she shared a thought that stopped me in my tracks. She said, stop thinking about the worst case scenario, or stop thinking about saying the phrase, what's the worst that can happen? And start thinking about what's the best that can happen. Now, a lot of people, of course, always have that concept of is the glass half empty or the glass half full? But honestly, I still think that's focusing on a scarcity mindset and trapped sort of in that thought process. I want to look at things differently. Years ago, I went through a resiliency training, and one of the concepts really stuck with me. The concept was very simple. When you're faced with a massive challenge, you need to map it out. Map it out into three potential outcomes. What's the worst case scenario? What's the most likely scenario? And what's the best case scenario? Real resiliency isn't just hoping for the best or focusing on the negative, but really focusing on the next step. What's the worst that can happen, and how do I overcome it? What's the most likely situation and how do I manage it? And then one that we often don't think about, what's the best case scenario and how do I capitalize on it? Now, I'm not suggesting we walk through life just thinking about rainbows and puppy dogs and ignoring reality, but I'm willing to think that all of us, myself included, it's easy to follow what's the worst case scenario. In fact, I say it to my family, I say it to my children, I say it to friends. Oh, what's the worst that can happen? Those negative thoughts are easy to sink in. They're almost automatic. For example, maybe at work, a coworker recently got a promotion, and instead of us being genuinely happy for them, we think to ourselves, they don't deserve it. Why didn't I get a promotion? Now, trust me, I'm not bad mouthing any of my peers that have recently got promotions. It's just a really simple, unfortunate, easy thought process. We have to cut those anchors loose. I was reminded again of this thought process just earlier today. I was reading LinkedIn and I was reading a post from one of my friends, Eric Brooker. And Eric posted the importance of putting the green banner on open to work. If you're looking for a job, put the green banner. And he mentioned getting a lot of negative feedback or hearing negative feedback from some of the peers saying, oh, that looks like desperation. The people are going to judge me. People are going to think that maybe I'm getting fired for a reason and I'm not worthy of being hired. Again, that's the negative thought process. Eric suggested we flip that thought process. What's the best that can happen? Of course, the thought process is very simple. The best that can happen is by putting that banner, you get your next great opportunity. That's the mind shift. Now, lastly, some of you might be wondering, why are you posting this video on LinkedIn, Blaze? It's potentially a vulnerable video, and it's maybe not even professional. It's very personal. Why aren't you using Facebook? Why aren't you using Instagram? Well, it's kind of simple math. I have a few dozen followers on Instagram. I have a few hundred friends on Facebook, but I have thousands of connections here on LinkedIn. This is my community. And if I'm going to share a massive thought about resiliency mindset and changing our thought process, I want to share that as far as I possibly can be. So again, I know exactly who needs to hear this today. I need to hear this today. Stop planning for the catastrophe. Start planning for the victory and change your mindset. Feel free to comment. Feel free to like the video if you like it. Or if you want to share opposing thoughts, go ahead and do so. But if you do, you have to do it positive. Thank you so much.